Let's have a look at this part here. So factor, 1FS. What is factor? For the broadcast people, this is easy, piece of cake. But for live people, it's not so straightforward. Don't get me offended. Don't get offended. I mean, I'm a live guy. I had to learn a lot of broadcast in the last years, but I grew up in the live environment. So the first time I had to deal with the FS. Okay. FS is factor scale. So when you get the information of the prodigy measured by the FPGA, is always related to the 1FS. So if you get a 96 kilohertz word clock input, don't expect to read 96 here, but you will read 48,000 multiplied by 2. So the base rate is always referred to the 1FS. So if you get an 88.2, you will read 44.1 multiplied by 2. So if you select a follow factor and you get a word clock input which is pushing you inside at 96 kilohertz, you will read here 48,000 and you will have automatically selected 2FS here because he is always calculating which is the base rate. Then you have the possibility to work at the same sample rate or the double or 4 times to get all the options. Okay? So my suggestion is, although the Germans wanted to have this follow factor button, I really fight against that. Never switch it on. Why? Because the only thing you don't want to have, or you don't want to have automatically set, is the sample rate of your system. So if for any reason Ravenna would fail and then you have the word clock input, and if someone is stupid enough to send you 96 kilohertz, your entire system will go to 96 kilohertz. Not a good idea. Not because you will have noise or something. Everything will be smooth, no glitches or something. But there's one little side effect. All your delays will be completely because they are calculated in samples and not in timing. Therefore, if you set a delay at 96 kilohertz by 10 meters, it's going to be 5 meters if you change to. So guess all your delay alignment or something like that. You don't want that to happen during the live show, right? So please follow factor always off. You are allowed to turn it on only when you are using the Prodigy in studio, and by loading your Pro Tools session, it is automatically following if the Pro Tools session is 96 kilohertz, 48 kilohertz. Completely different thing. In the studio, not a problem. You can always start it over again. Not during a live festival or during a live broadcasting, right? So follow factor, forget about that. It must always be off. Then, the word clock out, the Prodigy offers 2 word clock output connectors. They are independent. They are always providing the current clock master. But once again, you can decide to distribute the base rate or always 1FS. So let's say now I decide to work at 96 kilohertz. Can I change from 48 kilohertz to 96 kilohertz now immediately? Of course I can. The only problem is that Ravenna will not be happy. So I simply say this. I simply do this. Select internal, activate the sample rate converter here. Now, I'm having the sample rate converter back and forth Dante. I'm having the sample rate converter back and forth the Ravenna. So why I shouldn't work at 96 kilohertz now? Well, you had a little glitch because the D2A converters, but that's it. Now I'm running at 96 kilohertz. And the quality of the voice is much better, isn't it? Right? Or now I'm running at 192 kilohertz. So now, if I'm connecting the word clock out number 1, I will read 4803. If I will connect the word clock 2, I will read 192 kilohertz. You can decide if you want to distribute in output always the base rate or the real sample rate that you are running at. It's important to have the options because not all the audio gear are clever enough to understand what they have to do. So someone wants to get the base rate and then decide the multiplication. Someone, like the Avid SXL, just to mention one, is only expecting to receive a 96 kilohertz. Otherwise, it's not working because it cannot work anything different. So if it doesn't get a 96 kilohertz clock, it's not working. So you have the possibility to decide what you need. Differently for word clock 1 and word clock 2. Okay? Does it make sense? Perfect. What are the MADI factors here? Okay, Are you experienced with MADI? Hands up. Who used MADI in his life? Okay, you know that unfortunately the AES didn't decide one way to go. There are many ways to go. So if you are working at 48 kilohertz, no problem. There are no options. But when you are working at 96 kilohertz, well, then the problem starts. So are you using a 96 kilohertz frame or a 48 kilohertz frame? There's MOOCs. Remember the good old days with the AES? We were using high speed or MOOCs, which means that you are using, well, the matter of the fact is that you need a double of the space when you're running a 96 kilohertz. So you have the double amount of sample data, right? So how you transmit that sample data? You write the entire 96 kilohertz in one go using exactly the equivalent amount of space of two channels, or you are pretending to write one channel for the first half and then you use the space of the second channel for the second half. From the reading point of view, if you are using a 48 kilohertz frame of a MADI at 96 kilohertz, from the technical point of view, the amount of data and the way that they are put together is identical to a 48 kilohertz stream. So I have no idea if I'm receiving a 96 kilohertz or a 48 kilohertz stream. You have to tell me if you intended to use that as a 96 kilohertz stream or not. While if you go for the 96 kilohertz frame, well, there's no doubt, because I'm receiving a stream of 96 kilohertz samples, then the next one, so there's no doubt about the fact that I'm receiving 96 kilohertz stream. Have you ever happened to have this problem? If you play with several devices, with several things, several ways, and blah, 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 you are aware about this problem. Long story short, if I'm receiving a 96 kilohertz frame MADI, no problem. The MADI factor is automatically calculated because it gets the information if it's a 96 kilohertz or 48 kilohertz. But if you happen to receive a 48 kilohertz frame at 96 kilohertz, you might have to manually select, oh, careful, this is a MADI at 96 kilohertz which gets in, right? Because you don't know if it's 1FS or 2FS. So you have to manually specify that. This is a little bit advanced, but anyway, I mentioned that. Then the usual suspects, word clock termination, 75 ohm for the first and the second. The second word clock input can also be used as a video reference input. Tri-level, classical, black burst, it's compatible with all the digital and analog video reference. And when you get a video reference, you still have to decide if you want to have a 48 kilohertz or a 44.1 kilohertz rate. The video reference is not telling you, it's telling you how long is a second, but it's not deciding if the second is chopped in 48 or 44.1. So once you get the video reference, you have to decide if you want to extract from the video reference 48 kilohertz reference base rate or 44.1. The same for the LTC, although the LTC has not been fully implemented, so forget about the LTC for the time being as a clock reference. The LTC is managed and it is working as a linear time code, so you can extract linear time code from any incoming of the audio signals, but not for the clock for the time being. So it's there from the GUI point of view, but it's not yet implemented in the firmware. We get back. So now we are running at 48 kilohertz. Shall we go back to 48 kilohertz? Yes. Boom. Now we're back at 48 kilohertz. Okay, so what you hear is the analog to the digital to analog converters, which are doing this pop. But if you have a digital connection, such as a MADI or AES or Ravenna or Dante, you don't hear that glitch. Okay, it's the way that the D2A is designed that it can be. So maybe when you are changing from 96 kilohertz to 48 kilohertz, I do not know if muting or unmuting everything we're gonna help. Let's see, but I don't think it's going to make a difference because oh yeah. So it's a good idea to mute the PA system before doing before doing the change of the thing. So okay. Sorry? Andy to know. Andy to know. I agree with you. I should have thought about that before, but trying together. It's always, a nice experience.